2018 Hyundai i30N track review. If you've been living under a rock for the last decade, it's hard to fathom the South Koreans are now not only making exceptionally good cars, but they are also making exceptionally good performance cars. We have had a lot of arguments in the CarAdvice office about the 2018 Hyundai i30N. Anthony drove it first and boldly proclaimed it's a better hot hatch than the Volkswagen Golf GTI. There were collective gasps in the office, things were thrown around, Anthony threatened violence if we didn't believe him, but ultimately our ratings committee, which at the time hadn't driven the car, decided to temper his original rating of 9/10 in the old rating system. You could argue if you were a cynic that we wouldn't have reacted the same if he was testing a new Golf GTI, or Renault Megane Rs. Yes, there is an inherent level of caution when it comes to rating South Korean performance cars so high. On some levels, it can be seen as a European bias, but really, what it came down to is the company's heritage. Hyundai has no legacy in this segment, so to go from never having made a hot hatch to making one better than the Golf GTI is a big leap. But the Koreans are very used to making giant leaps. To be fair, the i30N is arguably more European than Korean. It's built in Europe, designed under the watchful eye of former Audi designer, Peter Schreier, tested at Germany's famous Nürburgring, and the whole project was headed by famed German engineer Albert Biermann, a 30-year-plus veteran at BMW, where he led the development of some of the most revered M cars ever made. Icons like the E46 M3, E39 M5 V8 and even the F90 M5, at least in the early days. In saying all that, we are yet to still put the icon and its challenger together for a proper comparison, and until such time as we do so, there is no point in saying one is better than the other, but the fact that after having driven the i30N I can see it being a very, very hard question to answer, is a testament to Hyundai. CarAdvice owns a Golf GTI, amongst half a dozen other cars, including a Kia Stinger, and soon, we will also own a Hyundai i30N. Why? Because it's a game changer not only for Hyundai, but also for the world of hot hatches. As one of our CarAdvice commenters, Sumodog, correctly pointed out in a news story, first product forays into new markets by car companies can be excellent purchases. They tend to pull out all the stops and produce a car that is less about increasing profit margins and more about design brief. That pretty much sums up the Hyundai i30N. The Golf GTI brings with it decades of legacy and heritage, and as such, it can feel a generation behind in comparison. The i30N has no rules or heritage to adhere to, though Hyundai has been in WRC now since 2014, it's just trying to be the best that it can be. The main problem with the i30N, for now, is that it's manual only. It will be at least another 18 or so months before we see a dual-clutch transmission from the South Korean brand make its way into the N hot hatch. Undoubtedly this requirement for self-shifting will limit sales in the start, but then again, this car is not about sales volume for Hyundai, it's about brand image and credibility. In that regard, it nails the brief just standing still. From the outside, the i30N looks the business, particularly in the Hero Performance Blue, which it borrows from the brand's WRC cars. There are 5 other colors, but really, go with this one. It looks epic on a sunny day, especially with the 19-inch alloys and red brake calipers. No one would dare think of it as a regular i30.